Hello everyone, my name is Molly and today we are here to do a very exciting video, and even though it's late because we're already 3 months into 2017, I am here to tell you about my favorite books of 2016. So last year I did my top 15 books of 2015, so I decided just to stick with the number and do my top 15 of 2016. And it was hard to get the number down to 15 because I had about 20 books that I wanted to tell you guys about, but I don't want to be here all day, so we're doing 15 like last year. Sadly, last year I only read 45 books, which is disappointing because the year before I read 64, but last year was busy. I got my first job over the summer, so it was hard to read then because I worked a lot, and then school was crazy and I traveled a lot, and so it was a crazy year, and it was a good year, it was just crazy, and so I did not get as much reading done as I wanted to, but I do have enough to make a favorites video, so that's what I wanted to do for you guys. I'm gonna work it though the same way I did my last video. I'm gonna start at 15, which is my least favorite, and work all the way down to number 1, which is my favorite book of 2016. Number 15 on the list is Wait For You by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I read this book back in May, I think, and it was so good, guys. It's so cute. It's a new adult novel, but it's a cutesy story of a girl with a dark past, and she meets a boy in college, and it's really cute, and they fall in love, and I love JLA's writing, and so yes, this book is so good. It does have some stuff in it that is not the best for younger audiences because it is new adult, so you have to be prepared for that if you're reading it, but other than that, this book is so good, guys. I love JLA, I love her writing, I love her stories, I always love her characters. Cam, I can't. Number 14 on the list is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This is one of the first books I read last year, and I have yet to continue on with the series, but I really want to. I really enjoyed this book. This book is about a world where a plague sweeps through and it kills all the children, except for a select few that are left, and they all gain powers. And people frown upon these powers because some of the powers kill people, and so they are sent to these like labor camps, and we follow this one girl, Ruby, who breaks out and she finds a new group to become a part of, and it's so adorable. I love all the relationships between all of the characters, and just the story itself is so interesting, and it's so good, guys. Read it, I can't wait to read Never Fade. Number 13 on the list is another JLA book, Opal. This is the 3rd book in the Lux series, which started with Obsidian, and I have yet to continue on with the series. I read Obsidian and Onyx in 2015, and so that's why they're not on this list, but I read this in April, I think, and it was so good. This book is about aliens and aliens. It's great. Her writing never disappoints me. I love Katie and Damon. All the other characters in this book, I love it so much. Like, you guys have to read her books. I cannot stress this enough. Number 12 on the list is Ivory and Bone by Julie Eschbau. This book is a very interesting read. I believe I read it in August. It's told like somebody's telling the story, so the word you is used a lot, and it's so good. And then it's also very interesting because it takes place in prehistoric times. So there's like mammoths and the Ice Age, and it's just really interesting because you don't read a lot about that in YA. I really liked this book, and I can't wait for the second one. Number 11 on the list is Firelight by Sophie Jordan. This is the first book in her Firelight trilogy, and this book is about dragons, and more specifically humans with dragon-like traits. So they have tougher skin, and they have wings, and some breathe fire like the main character does, and this book is such a cliche romance book, but it's so good. Like, the clichéness of it just made me love it even more. This book is about a girl, and she's a Draki, which is the half human, half dragon, and she is being hunted by these hunters because, you know, you always have to have hunters. And of course she goes and she falls in love with a hunter. And her mom takes her away to live a normal human life. And stuff happens. It's so cute, guys. Like, it's so cliche, so if you hate that type of thing, don't read it because you'll hate on it, but it's so good. Like, I just love the clichéness of it, honestly. Number 10 on the list is This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab. This is the first book in her new young adult series, and it takes place in a world where monsters manifest every time something bad happens. So if you murder somebody, your consequence is that a monster will manifest because of your bad deed. And there's 3 different types of monsters, and you follow the point of view of someone who, it's like a human. She doesn't really hunt monsters, but she's not a fan of monsters. And then you follow a monster's point of view, but he's a really sweet monster and I love him. And it's just, they cross paths and it's really interesting. I know a lot of people liked this book because there was no romance involved. Like, there was nothing between the two. I ship it, but that's just my opinion, and nothing officially happened between the two of them, and I think a lot of people liked the fact that it was just a friendship. It was just 2 badass people being badass together. If you like that type of thing, I definitely recommend picking it up. It's just a great YA book, and I can't wait for the second book. Number 9 on the list is The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh. This is the second and final book in the Wrath and the Dawn series, which is very disappointing. I didn't know it was this last book until I got to the very end, and there was an epilogue, and it ended, and I was like, what? I thought it was a trilogy, and I was so sad because I cannot convey the love I have for these books. They're so good, guys. Like, they're so good, and it's just, there's stuff that's hard to pronounce, and it's like folklore-ish, but it's just so good. But The Wrath and the Dawn is a retelling of 1001 Arabian Nights, and it's so interesting. The 2 main characters are the best, and you will just love this book. There's elements of romance, but they're also both really badass, and this book is insane. There's so much going on, the politics, the love, the relationships. I was just like, whoa. But it's so good, and the end, guys, will rip your heart out. But then it'll put it back together, so it's fine. Number 8 on the list is Winter by Marissa Meyer. This is the 4th and final book in the Lunar Chronicles series, which started with Cinder. These are a collection of retellings of fairy tales. So Winter was the retelling of Snow White, but it also involves all the other characters from Cinder, Scarlet, and Crest. Guys, this book was so good. Like, I miss the Lunar Chronicles series so much because it's over, and I remember reading this book and just sitting there and being like, oh my god, it's over. But, like, it was such a good finale to the series that I didn't care. It's 800 pages long. It's a really heavy book, but they're really, really thin pages. I highly recommend picking up the Cinder series. It's a sci-fi retelling of fairy tales, so it's so interesting, and I love it so much. Number 7 on the list is actually 2 books, and that is Lola and the Boy Next Door and Island Happily Ever After by Stephanie Perkins. I decided to put these books together because they're part of the same series, they're by the same author. I figured, why not just shove them together on the list and make room for more books? So that's what I did. The series started with Anna and the French Kiss, which you can see right there, and it just, these books are so cute. As we get down the list, you'll see I have a lot of contemporaries on here, which is unusual because I used to not like contemporaries. I love them right now, but I used to not like them. These books are what started me in contemporaries. Like, these books, I read Anna and I was like, oh my god, contemporaries, and then I was like, that's it, I'm reading them all. And so eventually I read Isla in December. It took me forever to buy this book, but after I did, I was like, yes. And Lola I read in April, I think. These books follow 3 different storylines, but they all come together in the end. So, like, in Anna, you're introduced to all these characters, and then Anna shows up in Lola, and Lola and Anna show up in Isla, and Isla shows up in Anna. It's crazy. So there's all this fun stuff going on, and it's so good. They're just so cute. Anna takes place in Paris, Lola takes place in California, and Isla takes place in New York and Paris because Isla and Anna go to the same boarding school. And so these books are just so amazing. My order for them is probably Anna, Isla, Lola. Lola was my least favorite. I think just because I couldn't really relate to her character that much because she was just so different from me, but I still really enjoyed it, and I loved all the guys and all the stories in these books. They're just so good. Even if you don't like contemporaries, you should read them. Number 6 on the list is The Last Star by Rick Yancey. This is the third and final book. I feel like I keep saying final book, which is really sad because I don't like when things end. But this book is the third and final book in the Fifth Wave trilogy, and oh my god, guys, this book was insane. Anyone that's read it knows, like, the last few chapters are just so emotional and just so one shock after the other, and I'm like, no, wait, no, they can't die, no, they can't die, no, it's a crazy ride, but The Fifth Wave is one of my favorite books, and The Infinite Sea was really good. The Last Star was probably my second favorite out of all of them. The Fifth Wave will always be my first because The Fifth Wave was just so good. But The Last Star, it was so well written, and this is one of those series that doesn't really answer any of your questions, but you don't care because it was so good. Number 5 on the list is Reign of Shadows by Sophie Jordan, another Sophie Jordan book. This book is about a world where there is a really long eclipse, and so the world has been in darkness for over 10 years, and it has caused all these mutations in different animals, and so the people in this world have to adapt to that situation, and you follow 2 point of views. One is a girl who's been locked in a tower for most of her life, and one is a boy who's on the run, and they meet and stuff happens, and it's adorable, and I love it so much, because there's such a good element of romance in this book, but there's also such a good element of just badass fighting and situations, and it's just so good, guys. The last 10 pages are crazy, and they leave you on such a cliffhanger, and you're just like, I need the next book right now, like right this second. I need it right now, because it's just reveal after reveal, and then somebody gets taken, and it's just Number 4 on the list is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, another contemporary. It's such a good story about friendship. I really, really related to the main character of this book, and so as I was reading it, I was just like, that's me, and I was so into it because I was like, it's me. Like, I see myself so much in the main character that I was just like, yes. There are elements of romance in this book, but I feel like that takes a backseat to friendship, which I really enjoyed because I love romance, and so I was happy that there was an element of romance, but I was also really happy that there was just plain old friendship. So in this book, the main character's best friend goes missing, and she doesn't write, it's not like she was abducted, it's not a mystery, but she doesn't write, she doesn't respond to anything, and all the main character gets is this list. It's like a bucket list of all these things that she has to do, and so throughout the summer, she tries to complete the list, and she makes new friends, and she finds a new romantic interest, and it's so good, guys. Like, I can't express how good this book is. Number 3 on the list is also a double up, and that is Fangirl and Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Now, these books kind of go hand in hand because in Fangirl, the main character, Kath, is writing a fan fiction, and Rainbow Rowell went and wrote the fan fiction in Carry On. So this is a fan fiction that's in this book, and so they go together, and I loved both of them so much. Fangirl follows the story of a girl, Kath, and she has a twin, and they both go to college. Kath is all of us. She is a fangirl. She likes to sit home, and she likes to read, and she likes to write fan fiction more than she likes to go out and socialize, and she has to put herself out there in college because her sister is putting herself out there, so she really has nobody to talk to and nobody to hang out with, and she's lonely, and so she goes and she makes new friends with her roommate, and she finds a new romantic interest, and Levi is just amazing, and I hope I have a Levi one day, and just this book I related to so much because, like I said, Kath is us. So I feel like once you're a reader and once you're in this book world, you have to read Fangirl. Like, it's who we are as people. And you relate to it so much. And then Carry On was just such a good book because it was just like reading a fan fiction. Like, I'm not kidding, it felt like a fan fiction. I was reading, and because I read a lot of fan fiction, so I was like, this is 500 pages of fan fiction. And it was just, it's so funny because there are references to this in this book, and so like as I was reading this, I was like, oh my god, in Fangirl, when that, and I was like, oh my god. You don't have to read one to read the other, but I recommend reading it Fangirl, then Carry On, just because you'll have a better appreciation for Carry On, because you'll be like, oh my god, that's the fanfiction Kat was writing. So definitely go pick these up. Please just do yourself a favor and do it. Number 2 on the list is Tell Me 3 Things by Julie Buxbaum. This book, guys, I read this book while I was on vacation in August, and it's so good. It's another contemporary. This book is about a girl, and she moves in with her dad and her stepmom, and she goes to this like rich people boarding school, and she doesn't really fit in. People are kind of bullying her, and she doesn't really have any friends. And then one night she gets this email from this anonymous source, and this source is like, I'm gonna help you. I'm going to tell you the ins and outs of the school. I'm going to tell you who I think would be a good friend. I'm going to tell you about people. At first, she's kind of like weirdo, and then she's like, gets desperate enough that she's like, okay, talk to me. Tell me what to do. And so she starts a relationship with Anonymous, and she finds that they have a lot of stuff in common, so she starts to have feelings for him, but they've never met. She doesn't know who that person is, and so she's just kind of like, I like them, but I don't know who they are. And then she meets this boy in school, and she's like, I like him too, and then she feels guilty because she likes both these people. And so it's just this crazy thrill ride of friendship and relationships, and I feel like it's just such a real book. The situations and the way the characters reacted and the way that things progressed, it was just, I cried in this book because it was just so emotional because I could relate to it so much. And so, guys, read this book. And where would we be without a Cassandra Clare book on my list? And so number 1 is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. No other book makes me feel the way Cassandra Clare books make me feel. There's just something about her books that just resonate with me. The characters that she writes, the things that they go through, the relationships that happen. It doesn't matter what she writes. I don't even know how to put it into words. So this is the first book in the Dark Artifices series. It is the sequel series to the Mortal Instruments. So her books go the Infernal Devices, the Mortal Instruments, and then the Dark Artifices. This book is huge, but you fly right through it. I finished it in like 3 days, I think. It made me cry on a plane. I was like flying home, and I was reading it, and there was just a scene that was so emotional, and so I started crying on the plane in public. Most of you probably know how that feels. It's very weird, and I'm like trying to hide the fact that I'm crying, and so I tried to stop reading for a little while. I was like, no, I need to know what happens. So I keep reading, and I'm still crying, and it's a mess. But it was such a good mess. If you haven't read a Cassandra Clare book, I tell you this every video I make. Read it. I don't care which one you read, although I recommend reading The Infernal Devices, The Mortal Instruments, and The Dark Artifices because you will be spoiled. I don't have words for how good her books are, so just read them. Alright guys, so that was my list. Let me know what you guys thought of that list. Are any of these books some of your favorites? What was your favorite book of 2016? That's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I try to upload a video every week. If you like my videos, then subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!